What are some best practices for getting the most out of a fractional CMO relationship? A lot of times a company needs to hire internally, but they don't have the timeline that they want to spend to do well hiring. They want to launch now. And I agree with that because you can get a lot of value and run two initiatives, finding the right person and setting up a system that they will then come in and optimize. So interim is a really, really great opportunity, or when you have a special product. So I see this a lot more on the B2C side where there is a massive undertaking and they need a very experienced owner of that project where they're almost full-time, but it's only for 6 months or it's only for a year, and they're really a peer-to-peer partner for the existing CMO. Hey everybody, and welcome to the Marketing Blender Show. I'm Dacia.
And I'm Daisy.
Now today we are talking about when and how to hire a fractional chief marketing officer, a fractional CMO. So obviously we are pretty biased about this since this is what we do and we have a healthy team of CMOs. But I think this is really, really important. There are so many reasons when to hire a fractional CMO, and I actually think some of them are going to surprise you. So Daisy, what do you think? Should we jump right in?
I think we should jump right in.
Okay. I love it. So the number one is when people, I shouldn't say number one, but one of the big ones is when you hit a revenue plateau. If you are stuck, you need additional thinking. Another one is if you have experienced multiple product launches that have failed, or any, U.S. entry strategies that have failed, or any campaigns that have failed. Oh, digital marketing doesn't work for me. CMO can really help with that. And then the other one is if you are sick and tired of guessing, should we do a webinar? Should we go on LinkedIn? Should we do paid? No, you need a CMO.
Absolutely. I'd say the next three would be number one, if you need to accelerate your revenue growth. So even if you're doing great, but you're like, hey, we need to push this to the next level, CMO is going to help you with that. The second one would be if you're having trouble reaching your target market, or you're having trouble doing that at scale. So some of the B2B companies we work with are like, I can't get in front of this decision maker at all.
It's huge.
And others are just like, I can, but it's one by one by one. And I can't just keep hiring more salespeople to solve that problem. And the third one is if you're being commoditized, if it's become a price war, it is time to get a CMO in the house.
Oh my gosh. That one leads into one of the other ones I have on my list, which is losing to unworthy competitors.
Yep.
Like if you know you're better, and the market doesn't, perfect situation for a CMO to solve that. Not getting any return on investment on your marketing, crystal clear one. You should know if you spend $1, how many dollars do you get out of that? So need to be building a system. And then if your company lacks a clear marketing strategy, if you're like, I don't really know what a marketing strategy is, you need a CMO.
The next time it's a great opportunity to hire a fractional CMO is if you don't have a marketing team. Because guess what? You're going to be out there trying to figure out this freelancer does this, that freelancer does that. Somebody in-house who's not a marketer needs to take on some of this. You need a fractional CMO who's able to resource all of the people that you need at a price point that makes sense for your budget and get the stuff done. Next one would be if you don't have a predictable sales pipeline. So you might have a really strong sales team and you might have seasons of feast and seasons of famine. But if you can't look 3, 6, 9, 12 months in the future and know where your next leads are coming from, then you need to have a CMO who's helping build that so you have predictability and visibility in your pipeline. And then the third one I would say is low quality leads. So we work with a lot of B2B companies who are like, we keep getting leads or buying leads. That's a red flag right there. But they don't turn into anything. They're just not the quality we're looking for.
Yeah, I love these because it really leads into some of my next ones. So you had mentioned if you don't have a marketing team, but some people do. But a lot of times marketing teams end up being tactical and it's difficult to drive return on investment. So if you need to up-level your team or you're not getting the outcomes, even though you see them being really busy, that's a really important one. Another one on the note of team is if your sales team and your marketing team are not getting along, a CMO is a great resource for solving this because of the point of view. Revenue strategy, revenue advocate, getting everybody on the same time, on the same page, super, super critical. And then another one, a little bit different, but if you're looking to expand into new markets, don't guess. Do not guess. Have a strategy where you plan for success instead of hope for success.
I'd say the next one is if you want to become more data oriented with your revenue strategy, a CMO is going to be able to help you. They live in the data every day. With sales, they have their own data that they track. They have their own metrics, but that's usually lagging indicators. So they can look and say, what did our sales activity to date garner for us? They can look historically. Not very good at looking forward because they're not doing the activities that actually drive future potential most of the time, or they're not doing it in a systematic and scalable way. So working with a CMO who can deep dive the data, tell you where you are, where you've been, and build predictive modeling and forecasting so you can know what is the right thing to do next is important. I would say another great time to hire a fractional CMO is if you just don't know what to do. Because I can tell you what, if you're not talking to a chief marketing officer about what to do next, whoever you are talking to is just going to tell you whatever tactic they know how to do or that they believe in or that they think might work. They're not going to be giving you the full range of options that are available to you. And then the next one I would say is if you're planning to sell in the next 5 to 10 years, get a CMO in there to help you increase the valuation of your business, because guess what? That is a brand building play. It's not just, repeatable operations and documentation and all of that, although that's very important. But if people don't know your brand, who's going to buy it?
I love that. And on the flip side of that one, acquisition strategies. So a CMO can help you identify the right targets, actually build communication and outreach strategies around that, and even lead blue ocean initiatives to really be thinking differently about how you can disrupt, change, or dominate markets or your market. Another one that I think most people might be surprised about is fixing internal communication. So building an employer brand and really working with different aspects of different divisions in your company to be the employer of choice, but also to scale culture inside of your company. And as you grow and scale, really helping to protect that heartbeat that got you where you were. And then the final one, not final, but the next one I have on the list is when a business model or revenue streams where there's a lot of complexity around this. So if the sales cycle is very complicated, it is very difficult to just hire a superstar into that. Or if you have so many revenue streams, it can be really difficult around understanding what to prioritize, what's the real problem. It's not a one size fits all. And a CMO is excellent for untangling spaghetti.
Very true. I think the next one will be a little bit of a surprise, but I want to explain why. If you've never done digital marketing before, you should not work with a digital marketing agency first. You should be working with an actual fractional chief marketing officer, because digital marketing agencies are good at selling digital marketing services, and they're going to make whatever recommendations they think are right for your business, but it's usually very much a one-size-fits-all plug and play. They're going to tell you what platforms to be on, not necessarily the platforms that your customers are actually on, or the kind of sales funnel that you should be building that is how your B2B buyers want to buy. So you want to be working with a CMO who can actually give you guidance. Whether you end up hiring a digital marketing agency or not, they're going to be the ones managing that and making sure that what's built is actually built correctly for your buyer personas, how they want to buy, and it's going to maximize your return on investment. I'd say the next one is if you don't have the revenue to justify a full-time CMO. I talk with companies all the time. They're like, well, we're not at the stage yet to hire a CMO. And usually what they're talking about is they don't have the money, not that they don't need the expertise. So that's why the fractional model exists. It makes it possible to get the early expertise that you need within your organization. And hey, if you need a full-time CMO later, that's absolutely great. You'll be plugging them into a system that already works. Yep. And then I would say the final one is if you have a product that is aging out of the market, you know what? You need to figure out what the next thing is that you need to be building, or how you need to be upgrading or up-leveling or pivoting your current product. Please don't do that based on what you think people want. You need to be having the conversations around market research, what type of market research you should be doing, and how you can build that into your future product roadmap. CMO is going to be your best friend in that. What if you're a small business, a startup, or even a nonprofit? We serve you with the same strategies, processes, and frameworks that help you grow no matter your business size or your business stage. In fact, the smaller your business and the smaller your budget, the more important it is to get real advice from a chief marketing officer so you can stop wasting money, start getting more of your ideal customers, and keep more of the customers that you have. If you want to learn more about how to do that affordably, talk with me about our Marketing Blender Lab program.
You know, a lot of times a company needs to hire internally, but they don't have the timeline that they want to spend to do well hiring. They want to launch now. And I agree with that because you can get a lot of value and run two initiatives, finding the right person and setting up a system that they will then come in and optimize. So interim is a really, really great opportunity, or when you have a special product and project. So I see this a lot more on the B2C side where there is a massive undertaking and they need a very experienced owner of that project where they're almost full-time, but it's only for 6 months or it's only for a year, and they're really a peer-to-peer partner for the existing CMO. So a couple other ones, but now let's move into how. How do you find a great CMO? Because the one thing I want to tell you guys, and you might have heard me say this in previous episodes, all marketers are good communicators. Imagine that, right? We are trained communicators. Of course, you're going to like us in an interview. Of course, you're going to be impressed with how we phrase things and the insights that we have. Just because someone sounds smart doesn't mean they are the right fit for your specific business. And trust me, I've hired a lot of marketers. I have learned the hard way, even though I'm on this side of the desk. So Daisy, where do we start with helping people to understand what a fit is and kind of what the differences are in different types of chief marketing officers?
Sure. I think it's important to understand what a fractional CMO actually does. Because if you haven't had a chief marketing officer in your organization before, you may have ideas about, I guess they would like lead the charge in our marketing stuff, but it's a lot more practical than that. So let's talk a little bit first about what should you expect your CMO to do. I would say they need to be providing clarity for you. If a CMO is coming in and they're creating more confusion, either by trying to start too many things at once or using jargon and language you don't understand, that's not helpful to you. So they need to be providing clarity. They need to help you with prioritization. Now, a good CMO is going to be absolutely ruthless on this, and they're not going to let you do all the things that you want to do. So you need to be looking for someone who's going to give you pushback and say, no, this is the thing that has to be done first. Otherwise, nothing else will work, and you will just be wasting money. So prioritization, and then providing clear and measurable impact on revenue. So CMOs should be having the revenue conversation with you. We have some organizations where our CMOs are basically the chief revenue officer because that seat has not been filled by anyone else in the organization. So your CMO should be relentlessly focused on what's the impact for your business.
I was talking to one of our new clients the other day, and a really interesting conversation came up where it was about, okay, we're not only solving problems, we will actually build a system that leapfrogs you out of those problems and then creates that sustainability that we're looking for. And I think that's a really big difference because, yes, we are going to solve some problems. We're going to solve some problems really fast and really aggressively, but we don't stay there. It needs to be proactive and looking ahead. And that's why we are always saying revenue, reputation, resilience over and over and over, because it should be hitting all three of those big anchors there. So I think one of the things, in thinking about what they should do or, like what a CMO does is how you can go about it. Because I think people would be surprised to hear there's kind of a different feel to different types of CMO engagement. So of course, one of the first ones is we do it for you. Now, let me be clear. This does not mean you abdicate responsibility. You are in meetings. You are asking smart questions. You are helping to build decision-making criteria. But this is a senior leader on your team who is going to own all of marketing. So yes, they need your insights. They need your point of view. They need your subject matter expertise, but they are really owning it. And in a do-it-for-you model, it's pretty unusual, but they typically are bringing a team to fill capability gaps as well. Now, this is really important because a lot of CMOs need to source people, or they're giving you really great recommendations, and then they're asking you, well, who's going to do the work? So a do-it-for-you model is a full-blown, all-encompassing approach to strategy and execution so that there's no break in that. And that's really how we have built our system so that we can add maximum value.
It is. And if you have the budget for do it for you, you know what? It is absolutely heaven for clients who can do that.
Yeah.
So we love that. And it's one of those things where you can grow into that. Even if it's not where you start, you know what? We're here to impact your revenue so you can get more of what you want. I would say the second model is do it with you. So this will be a fractional CMO who is becoming part of your team at that executive level. But we typically see this model with organizations that have an in-house marketing team, like from a marketing director or manager on down. So that CMO is being brought in to up-level your team, to train, coach, and mentor your existing resources, to work with whatever agencies or freelancers you already have in place. So they're leveraging the resources that you already have. We often see this for organizations that are kind of mid-sized. They do have some established marketing, but they need to get a lot more out of it. And we usually see with these types of organizations that they have a leadership team that's more willing to get involved and learn how the marketing is supposed to work. There's more shared ownership around those responsibilities.
Yeah. And the final one is a do-it-yourself model. Now, this might sound a little bit weird, but think of it more like a coach or a mentor. So it's where that person, their job, their goal is not only to give you clarity, but to help you own marketing and turn it into an internal strength. So they are a strategic partner and they're trying to build capability into your organization, and especially through you as a founder. This is really common for small businesses or businesses that do have a capable team of doers, but not a lot of clarity about what they should be doing. And so it can be a really exciting and very satisfying relationship that gets a lot of value out of an existing team or existing point of view.
It does. And for startups, solopreneurs, small businesses, people that want to learn how to run their marketing, it's an amazing way to get that done. I'd like to cover the things that you can expect your fractional CMO to actually do in the first 90 days. And that starts with building a brand message playbook. So this is deep diving your buyer personas, their demographics, firmographics, psychographics, what makes them tick, what makes them make decisions, how you can influence them, where you can reach them. It includes building a marketing plan. So this is everything you could possibly do to reach your target market effectively. And then an execution roadmap, which is boiled down to the things you can actually do with the budget and resources that are available to you. Beyond that, there are tons and tons of tactical and practical things, the stuff that your CMO actually does. What would you add to that?
Oh my goodness. I love that you're clarifying there are very specific deliverables that a CMO should be delivering within the first quarter. So yes, because it's going to be very frustrating if they're not creating this. And you guys, if it is not documented, it is not real. Do not take this for granted just because somebody is smart. It's got to be on paper so that you guys are all align around the same decision-making criteria. There also should be building scorecards and really getting into all of your existing efforts, because a lot of times there's low-lying fruit, early wins that they can clean up. And so, Daisy, this might be like nurturing like cold leads, turning cold leads into warm, getting an email and making sure those work, and improving messaging, improving conversion points on the website or places that leads are supposed to flow into. I mean, we're always looking for places where we can get early, faster, sustainable revenue so that it keeps going. And another one is working really, really closely with the sales team, because if you can create some sales enablement around predictable friction points and increase that win-loss ratio early, well, heck yeah, now let's go spend some more money, because we know we're going to get as much squeeze out of that lemon when the quality leads actually are coming through. So those are always something that I'm looking to make sure that we are accomplishing for clients really early on.
And one of the really big ones is, of course, digital marketing strategy.
Yes.
Not digital marketing stuff, digital marketing strategy.
Amen.
Digital includes paid, it includes organic SEO, it includes social media. All of that has to work together for today's modern B2B companies to succeed. So building the strategy around that, not just taking a shotgun approach and hoping something works.
I love it. And when you're thinking about digital marketing strategy for a B2B company, we are thinking, can you win? Where can you win, and what will it take in attention, time, and money? So these are the critical questions that you're going to get clarity on so that you know exactly why and how digital marketing will actually work for you to fill your sales pipeline.
Let's dig into the nitty-gritty of how do you figure out if you're talking to the right person?
I love
because
this.
Like you said, CMOs all sound smart.
Yeah.
And they all have fun, shiny stuff in their portfolios and their resumes. But what's the real difference? What should you be looking for? I think the first place to start is B2B versus B2C. Does it matter?
Yes.
If so, why and how? You want to kick that one off?
This one is so important. So obviously, we being a business to business agency, we're really focused on this, and not every smart CMO or experienced marketing veteran is great for B2B. So in B2C, you're going to see people with experience, oftentimes very, very sophisticated experience on top of the funnel. What I mean is brand building. We're talking about reach. We're talking about impressions. We're talking about larger media budgets. Oftentimes they are very well versed in market research and marketing research, because since it's there's a lot of complexities, more buyer personas, more unknowns, and you're further away from the point of sale because you're trying to activate buyer behavior outside of a one-to-one relationship. It's a different skill set and a different experience base, whereas B2B is going to be extremely focused on sales outcomes, what the human relationship looks like, what a complicated buyer journey looks like, what consensus building looks like, and how do we arm the sales team, set them up for success, and really handle a lot of complexity when a buyer's journey is not a couple of days or a couple hours or a couple of weeks, but sometimes as much as a couple of years, especially in things like government or aerospace. I mean, these are really complicated. And revenue strategy is a big difference in regards to how does money flow through different human hands than it is on B2C. And so it's not so much about a B2C CMO being better or worse than a B2B CMO, but it is definitely a different set of experiences. And there's really only a few that transition both ways.
And it's always the ones who are good at strategy.
Yeah.
That's
Great
the
point.
one thing that translates from one to the other. If you know how to build a strategy, you're going to be golden. But you want to work with someone in the B2B space who has experience building strategies in B2B, because the tactic set and what they're being measured on in terms of outcomes and success is very, very different. So if you're talking to a fractional CMO and you're wondering if they're a right fit for a B2B company, you need to be asking them specific questions about revenue outcomes, about sales outcomes, about where do they think their responsibility ends in the transition from marketing to sales. And if they're like, well, we're up to here and then it's sales all the way and we never touch anything again, they're missing the whole feedback loop. And what are they doing for customer delight? What are they doing to drive referrals from existing customers? There's a whole ecosystem there that they need to be aware of. I would say another thing to consider is domain expertise is not as important as you think when it comes to B2B. Our fractional chief marketing officers typically have experience across a very wide range of industries, and this is good for you, not bad for you. So if you're thinking, I just have to find a B2B CMO who knows this particular type of software or this particular aspect of the manufacturing space, or they have to be an expert in this part of commercial construction because that's what my company does, actually, no. Because if you find somebody whose only experience is in exactly the thing that you do, guess what? It's because they've worked for some of your competitors and they're just going to rinse and repeat what's already being done out there. Having somebody who knows how to build and execute strategies across a range of B2B company types and domains and industries means you've got somebody on your side who is going to pick up things very fast when it comes to being a domain expert on your particular domain. But more important, they're going to be able to drive results because they understand the underlying principles and the systems that need to be built to drive predictable revenue through your pipeline, no matter what B2B industry you're in.
I love that you're bringing this one up, because even personally, and I know you've got these experiences too, there have been times where I was working with a SaaS company and then a very specific problem showed up in one of my industrial clients on the manufacturing side. And I realized the strategy that we did over here actually is transferable, despite the fact that those industries and those verticals are so completely different. And man, it is so exciting and it feels revolutionary. It's a little dramatic, but it really is when you deploy something from another industry where you steal that idea and customize it. And that industry's never seen that before. Right. Holy cow. And then, this is maybe going a little bit too much in the deep end, but sometimes there's a lot of benefit to working with a group, right? Where there's a documented process and when that's consistent across. So obviously I'm biased because this is how we built the marketing blender. But, I say that because I get to hear all the stories, right? From every single one of you guys and every single CMO. And there have been so many times where I'm talking to Melora or talking to Crystal and I'm like, hey, go ask Daisy what she just did for so-and-so.
Right.
Or Daisy, go talk to Jean. I think you guys are going to find some really exciting synergy around what you're both working on right now. And kind of that cross-pollination, holy cow. I mean, it keeps us all up-leveling. And then it's shared experiences, shared strengths. So I'm a little biased around this one, but you also have to make sure that if you hire a firm, that those CMOs don't compete for work because it's not the same thing.
That is common. And there are many different places you can go to find fractional CMOs they're freelancers, they're freelance consultants. Some of them are very experienced. If you find the right one, that's absolutely amazing. And there are ones that are basically headhunting firms. So they're bringing CMOs to you and saying, hey, which one do you like? And to your point, Dacia, they're competing against each other for clients. There's no ecosystem of knowledge and wisdom sharing that happens. Whereas if you have a group of CMOs that are all working toward the same goal of client success and they can share ideas freely, it's absolute magic.
It is. And it just makes work more fun. And when things are fun, the ideas are better and the relationships are stronger. Now, one other thing when I'm hiring CMOs for our team that I want to give advice around is just listening for kind of the more nuanced natural strengths. And again, these are not better or worse, but I want you guys to think about what kind of value you can derive from a CMO that might not be obvious. So for instance, I have certain CMOs on our team that are extremely operational in nature is how I think about it. And then I have certain CMOs where they lead more on a brand orientation side. Now, here's what I mean by that. An operational CMO has a tendency to really come in and start on the numbers side of thing, and they're really deep diving internal solutions to find their fast wins. They are all strong on brand building. They're all strong on lead generation, but it's kind of where they orient to first. And then there are the brand builders where they find the low-lying fruit, oftentimes in the messaging, in the targeting, in how the marketing is being distributed. And then they'll reverse engineer back into the numbers and back into the operational. So it's not an either or, but it can be helpful in regards to understanding a marketer's background, and what they were trained up in. Like if they came in on a more operational side, or if you saw a career change in their resume or something like that, they're bringing a really interesting insight and applying it to system building on the marketing side. But then same thing, because if you've gotten to the CMO level, there is no such thing as brand building only.
Right.
Like you're a senior executive accelerating revenue growth. Like nobody shies away from numbers and nobody shies away from complexities at this level. And if they are not your person, not your person. So.
I think we'd be remiss if we didn't touch on personality fit.
Ooh.
When it comes to hiring a fractional CMO. And you and I have these very frank discussions as we have new clients coming in, like not only what's the right skill set fit, but who's going to be able to communicate with this client in a way that's going to drive the most success.
Absolutely.
And I can tell you one thing, it's never going to be a CMO who tells you whatever you want to hear.
No.
That is not a chief marketing officer. That is a chief order taker. And that is not going to help your business in any way. So any CMO that you're talking to should be willing to stand toe to toe with you as a leader and say, these are the realities of the market. These are the decisions we're faced with. These are the criteria to use to make those decisions. As a CEO, as a founder, it's up to you to make the final call. But if you're hiring someone and you think their job is to do the marketing stuff that you tell them to do, you're not hiring a CMO. So we always look at, what's the cadence of communication? Yeah. And there should be expectations around that. There should be expectations of, who's accountable for what, who has the authority for what.
Yep.
Even if it's an outsourced CMO, they should still have a set of decisions that they're able to make on your behalf. So being very clear about that. And just, some clients need help with wrangling all of their great ideas. And they need someone who's really structured and who will hold them to the framework and the process. And some clients have never done anything really creative before. not that they can't, it's just their mind isn't used to working in that way.
That's
So
right.
they need someone who can bring the wow and the sizzle and get them excited about their own brand, because that's going to be the thing that brings it to life.
I love this part because that emotional connection, I mean, this person is literally helping steward everything you represent, everything you stand for, how people are going to perceive you and your reputation, and help you achieve your dreams and your goals. I mean, this is no small relationship that you're engaging in. And so going into it. Now, the one caveat I would say, and you really touched on this really nicely, is sometimes you do need your opposite. So being careful to not only hire for personality is a really big deal, because outcomes are different than personality. And a great CMO, to your point, being willing to go toe to toe, is going to advocate for your outcome. And again, whether it's wrangling, whether it's challenging, whether it's pushing, whether it's up leveling or inspiring, will engage different things. But personality is so, so important in order to build your confidence. But, just being really thoughtful. And, one tip is, if you are a company where you use any sort of strengths assessment or character assessment and you have a common language, have them take it so that you understand their communication style. So for instance, we use a DISC profile. We also use strengths finders. We've got a number of clients that use Culture Index and some of the others, the Lencioni programs. And it's very healthy to make sure that once engaged in a relationship that you know that. And so if you do have common cultural language where it helps you to understand and explain another person, is a great way to build and fortify your relationship with your CMO much faster. So then you've got clarity on what you can expect from that person.
All right. So how to get the most out of your CMO after you hire them? We've seen all of the different ways that this can progress.
I will not get on a soapbox.
Well, let's talk about some of the key things that business leaders have to know. If you're going to hire a fractional CMO and you want to get maximum return on that investment, what should you do and what should you not do?
Number one thing is trust them and trust the process. Because if you're hiring a CMO, you've probably never done this before. And there are fundamental principles, and go back in the video and listen to some of the examples of the deliverables that Daisy gave earlier about what happens in the first 90 days. There are fundamental principles on why marketing will be successful. And you've got to trust that sometimes it will feel emotionally like you're slowing down, but you are slowing down in order to speed up and break through barriers that you have not done before. And so those first couple months are so critical, and you've really got to trust and test that. And it's not about just going blindly. I want people to ask smart questions. I really want to make sure that they are sinking their teeth into the rationale that a CMO is giving them. If there's a scorecard or a dashboard being presented, I want that client to viscerally go, I get it. I totally understand what you're saying. Okay, I really have confidence in what you're about to lead me to. So I'm not talking about just being like, okay, whatever you say. But wow, just don't try to force tactics or rush into something before it's time.
I'd like to address the elephant in the room here on the reason that people sometimes don't trust. And that's because they've usually worked with marketing agencies before. And as any of you who have spent tens or hundreds of thousands or sometimes millions of dollars on marketing that did not work, there are a lot of marketing agencies out there that will tell you whatever you want to hear, that will make promises that they can't keep, that will pretend to expertise that they can't have. And that's destroyed a lot of trust in marketing as an industry. But it's important to understand that working with a marketing agency that is not invested in actually being part of your team, but it's invested in, churning that workout and making sure their portfolio looks good. As fractional chief marketing officer is actually a part of your internal team. And you wouldn't hire any other leadership position and then second guess every single thing that comes out of their mouth, because you understand that their success is tied to your success. So your fractional CMO, as they come in, their number one goal is to make sure that you're getting the results that you want to get. So if we work with a client and where our CMO is going in there, they're going to be telling you exactly the truth, because you know what? They know they're going to be there 6 months later when, things are coming to a head and you're seeing, are those outcomes real? They want to have that long-term relationship with you where they have proven their trustworthiness. This is not something where like, oh, well, it's another client and they left. It's an important relationship to them. So treat that with the respect that it deserves. Understand this is not the same as an agency model where they're just looking for, one in the door, one out the door. It's about building companies that last, building brands that last, and it's about having the honor and the trustworthiness in communication to make sure that you're hearing reality and not the hype.
I love this one. And, I think this is so important because we are very vigilant about, and it makes me angry, but it's important because we started as an agency, granted B2B agency. And because of identifying like where things were breaking, the CMO model developed years ago, and we now will not take clients that don't do that strategy component. And I mean, like just a couple of days ago, I was talking with a prospective client, and they wanted SEO, and so we do the audit, and this is the right company, the right industry. We have extremely deep, specific experience in SEO in their industry and in their selling model. So we know this type of company. I'm like, oh, this is a great fit. And anytime I brought up some strategic considerations, they were like, no, we don't need to bother with that. No, we're fine on that. And I literally said, well, we can't work together. Like, even though we've had very good experience in their exact industry, that's not a fit because they've got to be receptive to why we will be successful on their behalf. And when you don't hear that, you're just setting both of yourselves up for failure. But you're right. So many agencies will say yes to anything because they figure 3 months of revenue or 6 months of revenue or God forbid a year-long retainer that's hell is better than nothing. And that's so frustrating. So you guys, I hope this is beneficial because I do want to encourage you that your marketing stands for a lot more than just silly little whiz bang, like what tactic do we do or what do we focus on or what does our social media say? I mean, this is supposed to be a substantial component of your overall success and it should be treated as such. And we want you guys to make great decisions that help you achieve your dreams. So thank you so much. And go ahead and hit that like button and that subscribe button and go ahead and post your comment down there and go ahead and follow us on the things and you're getting the idea. So we would love to hear from you. And one final shameless plug, we are about to do a live episode. We do them every single month. And you know what? We don't come up with the topics. You do. So send us your questions or show up. Look on our company, the Marketing Blenders pages for those live episodes and show up, chat us up. It's really, really fun because we definitely want to help you up level and achieve the goals that you deserve to meet. All right, guys, onward and upward. We'll see you next week.